So GoPro finally announced their much-awaited drone, Karma.
Yeah, they call me T+7, but you can call me Tevin. Turn your engines on and keep them revving. Was born on the 10th month, 1/7. Brought into this world with the black curls.
And at first glance, this seems like an interesting drone. To be honest, it's got a cool design, it looks different, and it's trying to do something that is enough different, but I think does enough of what we need that it's something to keep an eye on. And that's something that I do say a lot, but I think that this drone does a good thing. I think it's a good thing that GoPro is getting involved in the drone market, because the more people that get involved, the more manufacturers start creating drones, start pushing the limits, the better drones we're gonna get. So I think that GoPro may not be matching DJI's quality at this point, at least from the initial thoughts, but I do think that this does something important to the drone industry. And of course, it's hard to say right now anything for sure about the drone because it's not out yet, and there's only one video that I could find of someone using it, and that was Casey Neistat's video. How he got it, I don't know. And Casey Neistat's review of it was favorable, he likes it, but Casey Neistat isn't exactly the authority when it comes to how to take care of a drone. So the drone seems pretty cool, and I'm not going to go over any specs of it because there will be a link in the description for that. But I am going to go over a few things about this drone that I really like and a few things that I think might be a drawback. One of the things I really like about this drone is the folding wings, how it collapses down and can fit into a small backpack. That's a big thing that with the DJI drones you don't really get. They have a lot of backpacks for them, but they're really big and bulky, and it's really hard to carry it around. Me and Howard carried around a drone around New York City. Actually, he carried it around. I just told him where to walk. And that was really, really clunky. I mean, it ran, it was bumping into people. People were getting really mad at us. And I think this drone is a really nice thing, especially if you're on the go. If you want to throw it in your backpack, if it's not a specific drone backpack, just throw it in any backpack and be able to go off with it. But they do give you a backpack with it that's a slim profile that fits the controller, the gimbal, and the camera. And I think that's really, really cool. The other thing I thought was really, really cool was the detachable gimbal. So the gimbal comes off of the drone, goes onto the handle, and you can use it like a normal gimbal that you would buy for $200 to $300 from Amazon or wherever, or DJI has their stabilizer. So it's kind of a plus that you get with this drone. And I think that's really cool. That's one of the things that GoPro is trying to make this drone fit in with all the other stuff that you already want. And it's making it a one-stop place that you can get the three things you really want. You can get your GoPro, you can get your gimbal, and you can get your drone. I thought the all-in-one controller was kind of cool. I actually really, really like being able to use my phone or an iPad with the DJI drones. It makes it really nice. I already have those, and especially with an iPad, the screen is huge. So I don't really hate using that, but I think that having it all in one controller is a cool idea. That way, if you want to use your phone for something else, or if you just don't have your phone with you, it's cool to be able to have that, and it's a neat little thing. Putting the camera on the front was interesting. I think that it was one of those things that kind of occurred to me like, oh yeah, that makes obvious sense. Apparently, why didn't they do that sooner? Why didn't drone manufacturers do that sooner? And I think that's something that GoPro just thought outside the box with. Is pretty intriguing. And they did say that keeping the camera up front made it so the propellers wouldn't get in the way of the camera most of the times. Now, I accept that as a challenge to see how far you have to go in order to get the propellers to show in the camera. So that'll be an interesting thing to look at when it comes out finally. Another thing I liked was the spare parts. When you go on GoPro's page, you look at all the spare parts they have, everything is built so that you can repair it yourself. And if anyone has dealt with DJI's support, you know that they're really not the best. At least the times I've used them, they haven't been that helpful. And the one time I had to send a drone in to get repaired, it was just something that the software had crashed when I was updating the firmware, and it made it so that the drone wouldn't turn on, wouldn't connect with a controller. So, but it took like 2 months to get the drone back, and that was crazy. That was a Phantom 2, but still, I don't like using their tech support. They're not very helpful. They always want you to send it in, and that freaks me out. So this being able to service it yourself, especially, you're gonna crash it. It's a drone, you know, obviously, especially these people that are, if you're flying it through the trees, through the woods, it's crazy. You're gonna crash it. You're gonna crash it eventually. You're gonna break something. So the fact that they're saying you can fix this yourself, here are the parts, I like that. Me especially, have crashed drones numerous times, so that's really cool. They also have their service, and I haven't looked at it too much, but I think it's a cool idea now that people are offering insurance for drones. And I think GoPro, hopefully this drone can take a beating, but I think that's a cool thing. The last thing I thought was cool was the passenger app. So a lot like the high-end DJI drones, like the Inspire, you can have a second person controlling the angle of the camera. Now with the Inspire, it's a lot cooler because the camera goes 360, you can go all the way around and the props go up, so that's a lot cooler. But it's cool that with the GoPro drone, you can have someone else with an iPad control it. I don't really know what you would control though, because it just looks like it's just a tilt of the camera, which you can do that while you're flying, and it's not that hard to get a really nice movement. So, but again, we'll have to get to use it and see what it's actually useful for. Now here are some things that I think could be nuances, maybe not necessarily deal breakers, but could be a nuance to flying this drone. Using a GoPro as a camera could be a bad thing. I used a GoPro with my Phantom 2, and it's a GoPro. You're gonna get stuff that looks like GoPro footage with it. And some of the things that I saw in their sample videos, again, looked like GoPro footage. And the DJI drones have a really, really nice camera on them, and it makes it so that you just get these really awesome things, and it's really easy to get the good looking images. The other thing that they didn't mention anything with the GoPro 5 is the ability to control manual settings in the camera. That's a big thing with the DJI, with the Phantom 4. And I know some people are gonna say, didn't you see the footage? It looks great, but it's GoPro footage. Their stuff always looks better than what you actually go out and shoot. You have to really try and get something as nice as what's in their videos. It's not necessarily false advertising, but their stuff's always presented. It's always a little bit better than what the normal person's gonna get. So keep that in mind when you watch that video. There's only 20 minutes of battery life in the drone. So now with the Phantom 4, we get almost a half hour of flight time. I think it's like 28 minutes. So that means that usually at about the 25-minute mark, maybe the 20-minute mark, you end up landing. So with this one being a 20-minute battery life, you're gonna end up landing around 14 minutes or 15 minutes of flight time, which isn't the end of the world. I don't think I've ever had a flight go more than 10 minutes, but it's something that you always wanna have that ability that if you need to do a 20-minute flight, you can. So you could. Now, the GoPro batteries are cheaper than the DJI batteries. I think the DJI battery is like 170 and the GoPro batteries are 100, so hypothetically you could buy more batteries, but I mean that's more batteries you got to cart around, and I think this is definitely somewhere where it's got to improve soon within the first couple generations of the drone. Being able to have almost a half hour of flight time is ideal, and hopefully as drones progress we get more than that and be able to fly for almost an hour. And there's been no mention as to how rugged the drone is or if the drone's waterproof, which I don't think it is. They definitely would have said that. And that's something I really wanted this drone to be. I really, really wanted a waterproof drone that produced nice images, because I've crashed drones in water before. And I've crashed drones into trees. It's just, I want a drone that, yeah, you don't want to fly it into something, but a drone that, if something happens, if the wind picks up and you crash into a tree or you clip a branch on accident, you're not gonna be out $380 like right here. This guy here, this was a broken Phantom 4 gimbal that, really, really simple. Show the footage. The wind just blew the drone off course and it crashed into a branch, fell, I don't know, 15 feet. And when it landed on the top of the drone, and it actually bent the gimbal arm. I'll show a close-up of this, but it bent the gimbal arm. The weight of the gimbal bent the arm, and I was out $380. And I think especially GoPro being GoPro, if they had created a rugged drone, man, that would have been so different. Would have made them such a game changer. Would have made them someone that was, really changing the drone market. But they didn't. I'm not saying they're not going to change the drone market, but I think I wanted that. I wanted a waterproof drone at least. And then the last thing is the price. Now, the drone itself is $800, which when you consider it, you get the drone and you get a handheld gimbal. That's pretty good. A handheld gimbal probably, if it's good, will cost you about $300. Drone, a little bit more. But when you factor in the fact that you have to buy a GoPro with it, either the Hero 4 or the Hero 5. Of course, get the Hero 5, but you have to buy the camera. That makes the drone about $1,200 if you buy the Hero 5. Now, which is the same price as the Phantom 4. But this means that the GoPro drone has to be better or at least as good as the Phantom 4. And the only thing I'm concerned with is image quality. And ultimately, especially as a cinematographer, as a filmmaker, as a photographer, you want the best image. That's the whole point of flying this. You want the best image that you can while you're up there. And if it's going to be the same amount of money as the Phantom 4, you might be better off doing that. That being said, this drone isn't necessarily only geared towards filmmakers or photographers. This is going for someone who wants something easy to fly, who's gonna be out and about, who needs it to collapse down into a small thing. That's fine, that's a market for that. But as photographers, it's kind of the whole point of me doing this channel, is looking at gear that we can use to use it better. So this may not be something that a lot of us end up using, but it could have a use. And to put it in perspective a little bit, the Phantom 3 4K version is $600 on Amazon. And the Phantom 3 Professional is $1,000. So that's really what you're going up against. If the GoPro isn't as good as image quality, you could end up getting the drone for a lot less money with a 4K camera. So that's something you got to consider when you're thinking about this. So like I said, it's important that this drone is good to be able to beat that price point. Make that price point worth it. Granted, you are getting a GoPro with that, you can use it for other things, but it's still a big price tag you got to consider when you get it. So all in all, we shouldn't make a decision based on the specs on paper, based on their videos, but I think these are all things to consider as you're going forward, as you try it out. I think this will be a nice one for people who are active, people who aren't, taking people who aren't photographers, making them photographers, that kind of thing. But it's something just to keep an eye on, and I don't know, maybe get excited about it, but it's something new. And I think new things are always better.
Yeah, they call me T+7, but you can call me 7. Turn your engines on and keep them revving. Was born on the 10th month, 17. Brought into this world with the black curls. Yep, my mama told me I'd be trouble with the girls, but I'm not. Only got my head in a swirl. Feel like I opened up an oyster, pulled out a pearl, and sold that thing for my money, for my girl. So I feel like I'm just